I love the One Piece trading card game, and I love to spend money on this game efficiently. Buying singles for your deck has always been the most cost-effective way of building a deck, but in this challenge, we throw that all away. Each week, I use a budget of $30 to open sealed product in the hopes of adding new cards to our deck. But since we can only play cards in our color, any cards we can't use, we can trade away. And there are additional buffs locked behind certain challenges. Join me in my journey as I rise up to become the King of the Pirates. You're watching One Piece from Scratch. Welcome back, Pirates, to another episode of One Piece from Scratch, and would you take a look at that? We are already on episode 19. That is super crazy that we're already making it this far into the series, but that does mean episode 20 is coming up, and with every 5 episodes, we do drop new bounties, so we do need some new bounty ideas. We need some easier bounties, harder bounties, as whatever you want to do, whatever you want to try and challenge me to do, just drop it in the comments. It can be something easy like summon this kind of character, defeat this leader, or it could be something harder like slap the tournament organizer Grant across the face and live to tell the tale, or it could be something like win X amount of games in a row. Doesn't matter, you can leave whatever crackpot bounty you want. I will be taking the suggestions from the comments below and then using that to make my new bounties. So what I want you to do is type your favorite crazy bounty, and then also while you're there, drop a like, drop a follow, drop a subscribe, and the usual stuff. Without further ado, let's just hop right into the opening. Alright gamers, we have a fresh box of PRB. I've had this sitting on my shelf for like a month, maybe 2 months now, and I've just been super excited to open it, but you know, we had to go on a little side tangent and open some OP09 because that was the newest set, but now we are back to PRB and I am just excited to open this. So we've got a budget of $31, and with $5 or $5.50 a pack for PRB, we can grab up to 5 packs, pushing $3.50 into next week's budget. So let's get in. Fresh box. Let's just grab, I don't know, 5 from this side. We'll work on the other side of the box at some other point. So we've got 5 packs of PRB01. I am super excited to be back into this set. Just seeing guaranteed SRs in every pack, and just the Dawn. I love seeing the different Dawn. Makes this set such a pleasure to open. So let's get into it. And yeah, every pack we're gonna look at, we're just gonna see that Dawn in the back and just like, heck yeah, you know what I mean? All right, square it off. We have Don Quixote Family, Vinsmoke Niji, Baby 5, Wiper, Billionfold World Tricholicosm, Baby 5 again, the different one, one's the Searcher one. Luffy, very cool.
I do run it. I might swerve in the corner.
Y'all saw that, right? Like, we're not mapping the box or anything. That is the alternate art Shanks 9 cost. That is a beautiful card. I don't know how much it's being played right now, but wow, that art is fantastic. Very cool. We're gonna put that over there. We've got the Ichiji, Jolly Roger, as well as the Enel Dawn. So let's do that there and put the rares over here. We'll do Dawn over here. Very exciting. See, this is exactly why I love opening the set. I feel like you just get a whole lot of value. Coming into pack number 2, we've got Blast Breath, Boa Hancock, One-Legged Toy Soldier, Suru, Otama, Arlong, Sanji Blocker for our SR, and Shockwave, no alt art, and Judgment of Hell as well. And the Kaido Dawn. I do like this. I think the kind of monochromish coloring of this makes this super cool. I think, yeah, Kaido is a little bit blue on there, but I love the look of that. Some little side grades that we can also find that don't really contribute to our bounties in any way, but do make for some nicer, wow, I cannot open this, nicer side profile or side upgrades to our deck would be like Jolly Roger, Suru, stuff like that, just Jolly Rogers in general. I think Ice Age is also in here, so that could be really nice. We got Shockwave, Brule, Duval, Califa, Virgo, Erdor, Yonji, and okay, is that all the hits in this box? That is a 10-drop Luffy. Very cool card. Yeah, I really hope the box isn't dead after that. That would be just such a non-exciting openings to follow, but very excited to have this card. And we have the Raizo Jolly Rare and the Yamato Don. I do love the blue on that. I think we do have a few other blue Don cards that we can pair really well with that. But yeah, another reason why I love PRB, the Don. Because sometimes you don't even need a full set of 10 of the same Don. You could do like a lot of the same color patterns. And I think the blues on this just look beautiful. We've got a Guard Point, Law, Makino, Elthor, Bartolomeo. I remember when this card was like super expensive in like the OP2 era, back when Film Kid was a huge deck. So very nice to see this here. It's just so weird to see it non-holo. Satori for the rare. We have a Kaido for our SR. Very nice card. Virgo for our Jolly Roger, and Radical Beam. I guess there's two Jolly Rogers with a Moria Don. I do like the purples. I think the purples in this set, there's a lot of them and they look really good. So I think this honestly might make its way into our Don deck. Very nice. And our last pack. Hopefully it's not just going to be these two and we've got like another secret rare somewhere in there, but yeah, at least we're still getting a lot of good usable SRs, so it's not just like completely dead, you know. We're still getting meta relevant, maybe a little bit less relevant as time goes on, but you know, we're still getting good cards that we can throw into an off meta deck. We have Barrier, Tony Chopper, Raizo, Billion Fold World Tricolocosm, Nami, Bedge for a rare, and Koala for our SR. I know we do have a good amount of the Revolutionary Army cards, especially because we got a few of them in the set 9 box that we got. So maybe we can also revisit like a Bello Betty leader. I think we might have that leader from whenever we dabbled into set 5. But yeah, we have Koala, Bedge, another Bedge, and the Don Quixote family with the Sakazuki Don. Very nice. That means we get to make a little bit more progress onto our bounty. I think that makes 4 out of 10. I know I was just talking about how we can get our hands on more of these. We'll see how I can do that later. We'll reveal that later. But yeah, huge pulls here, especially that Shanks. Absolutely beautiful. Let me just make sure that, sorry, I just bumped the camera, but I hope that like the texturing really comes out on the camera because I think this is a gorgeous card. A few changes coming to the list this week, and they're really just there to get rid of some of the bounties, finish up some of the bounties. We do have a bounty that has to do with double attack, and we just need to land double attack once today. So as long as we hit that, then we're perfectly fine. I also put in 2 copies of Stage, lowered Ice Age down to 3. I really want to believe that Ice Age or Navy HQ does have a spot in today's meta. Of course, we'll see once set 10 drops, and of course once the new ban list drops. But I really just want to try and make this work. I mean, especially because Navy HQ plus Brook on a 4-Don turn means you're clearing a 3-Don body. So especially into a lot of the purple Luffy matchups where they're playing Zoro-Juro, or I guess it's more of the red-purple Luffy, where they're playing Zoro-Juro on 3. We can 1-Don here and then 3-Don for the Brook to be able to KO it, and then we just have a recurring -1 constantly. So again, I do want to try and make the Navy HQ work. We threw in the Smoker in there. Sabo is not in this version of the list, so is the 9-cost Kaido. That was just to make some room for the Smoker. And once we finish that bounty, I think the Smoker is going to get benched for now. We'll see if it ever comes back, but probably not. And then if you are eagle-eyed, you may have realized that the sleeves have changed. Of course, we did finish the bounties, so we did get some new Card War sleeves, so I think these are really nice. I was considering double sleeving with some oversleeves, just to 1, protect this sleeve, and 2, our deck is kind of getting really expensive. I mean, in terms of just like value right here, at least to me, maybe not like serious value with like the alt art upgrades and whatnot, but like these are like starting to get like $50, $60 on this, and it's just like, I feel like I should be putting a little bit more effort into protecting my cards, and maybe also, you know, protecting the sleeves. This is a nice little sleeve, but this is a pretty durable sleeve, and I really hated the feel of double sleeving, especially because this sleeve is a little bit thicker than, let's say, a Dragon Shield or some other kind of nicer detailed sleeves. So I really didn't like that, so we're just going to go single sleeve with the Card War sleeve. And of course, maybe not of course, but we did switch the Dawn we're running, so I kind of went with this like black white with blue and a few yellow accent to get a little bit of red in there. So we've got 3 of the Enel Dawn, 2 of the Zoro Dawn, the Hody Jones Dawn, Buggy Dawn from Double Pack, Kaido, and the 2 Blackbeard Dawn. So got a little bit of a blue going on since the card back for, or the sleeves for the main deck are red, and then the sleeves for the Dawn deck are also red. I kind of wanted to do like a red theme, but I just don't have enough of like a red, orange kind of fiery theme Dawn going on. But for now, we're going to rock these 10. I think these kind of look aesthetically pleasing. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below, what kind of Dawn we should go for next, or what kind of set theme. I do have a lot of like the purple ones, purple pink. I think that could look good, but again, I think I do want to shoot for some red.
Time to play the game.
Alright, coming into round 1, we are versus Green Yellow Yamato, and we have faced off against this opponent multiple times, so we do know that they are on the Wano build, which wants to be putting stuff into life, grabbing stuff from life, and then replacing stuff back into life. Right off the bat, I am going to Brook Effect to KO the Momonosuke, just so that thing doesn't have a constant reoccurring value whenever it's coming back to our opponent's turn and searching, and that does mean that I can still swing with my leader, so that was pretty good. So right here, I do use my leader effect to -1, and then Brook to empty swing just to KO the body on board. I wanted to do that just in case he had the 5-drop Momonosuke to put it back into life. I didn't want that to be another resource just going back into life. I could have used Brook just empty swing just to get the leader effect online so I can swing 7, but he took it anyway, so it doesn't really matter that I didn't sequence it like that. Throughout the match, you'll see that my opponent will leave a few Dawn up, and I thought that perhaps he was going to be trying to bluff events, but he was telling me afterwards that he just left it up just because he didn't think he was going to need to swing with it. And just as a general note, I think that you should be planning out your turns to, you should decide what bodies you want to play, what bigger plays you want to make with your playing characters on the field, and then use any leftover Dawn to be swinging, attaching with your characters and then swinging with it. In general, I think you should only bluff events if you know that your opponent probably has a good inclination that your deck does run some sort of counter event. So in the case of Purple Luffy, they have Gum Gum Giant. In the case of Shanks, they might have Red Beam, or they might have Gum Gum Jet Red Hawk, or just Gum Gum Red Hawk, not Jet. So in those scenarios, I think it makes sense to be leaving some Dawn up, but outside of that, I definitely do think you should be attaching all your Dawn and swinging efficiently. Unless you are running the sauce. If you're running the sauce and you've got some like crazy event counter, then by all means, I would love to see that. This might be a little bit confusing if you're just watching visually, but he did declare the attack with the Hody Jones into the Moria, but didn't turn it sideways, so he'll correct that later. And I do counter out of this huge swing from the Yamato leader, just in case he had another Hody in hand. I didn't want to try and put some blockers on the field, and then next thing you know, I'm getting ran through by Hody. So I definitely did want to be going through and using all my counter to get out of that first attack, just so it's not going to be stockpiling later. And you see me dumping a whole lot of cost reduction onto the Hody, our opponent's Hody, so we do know that we're just going to be playing something to remove it, and then we see Moria into Rebecca brand new, and then Rebecca into the Kobe, or not Kobe, into the Brook to be able to clear it. So we have a huge established board. We have 2 Morias and then a few sizable bodies on our side of the field, with a clear open field on our opponent's side. They do rip the Onami trigger from life, but unfortunately for them, that is not going to be enough for me to go for game, and that's GG. Coming into round 2, it is going to be versus Lance, and he is piloting the blue Doflamingo. So I do find 2 Sengokus right off rip, and I am going to activate both of them, so I am able to trash some cards that I don't need in the moment, as well as trying to find other pieces like our Tashigi for the mid game and probably the unsearchable Moria in the late game. And I did throw out a Tashigi, and I was pretty confident that I would get it back eventually because I did have a Rebecca in hand, so eventually I will be adding that back to hand. I do swing double 5 into the Law here. I think if I just attached everything to my leader and swung into the Law, he would have just let it go, so instead I wanted to fish for a little bit extra counter, which we did get a 2k and a 1k, so in the early game, seeing 2ks come out of the hand feels really good. We are just putting the pressure on right now. We do find the Tashigi here, and we are going to remove the Law, so we are going to be really ahead on tempo. We are establishing bodies while removing our opponents. Unfortunately for my opponent, he does not really get a chance to find a whole lot of rearrangers. He does find the Boa here, which is going to be really good for him, but he ideally would have liked to see that Perona turn 1 just to be able to rearrange his deck so he knows what he's going to draw into and use leader effect into. And then here I am going to play the Rebecca to grab back the Tashigi, as I was mentioning earlier, and then we are going to see the Hina start to put in work, so it's going to lower that Boa, and then we are going to use leader effect on the Moria, or on the Sengoku, just to get the extra 1k, and then hard play Brook, so Brook is standing on our opponent's turn. It's not going to be swung into. And our opponent is going to be building his board up again. He's going to Jinbei into Law, bouncing our Rebecca back to hand. Honestly, I think he should have went into the Rebecca, just so it's a little bit bigger of a body. If the Rebecca comes back to my hand, I can just play it again, and then try and get a little bit extra resources from my graveyard. But he is going to then play the Jinbei into Boa. But once it comes back to my turn, I do have a good amount of removal, especially because the Brook does still stand on my board. And so I am going to be able to Rebecca into the Hina again, and then use some clever removal just to try and mitigate his board presence here. So I am able to remove 2 bodies and then still put some pressure onto his life. Coming back to my opponent's turn, he doesn't have a whole lot of rearrangers, so he is just going to fire the 7 cost event to send 2 of my cards back to the bottom of the deck. He does choose the Rebecca and Tashigi. I was thinking that maybe it was correct to place Brook at the bottom of the deck just so it's 1 less resource to worry about, but I did have another Brook in my graveyard already. Had I not had the Rebecca in hand, the second Rebecca in hand, I would think that Rebecca was also just like a top tier pick. And in general, you want to be sending cards that they would be pulling off the Moria in terms of blue going against black to be removing some of those resources from their graveyard. I definitely think that is the correct play to make whenever you're going to be firing off that 7 cost event.
I'm drawing the nuts.
I don't know, what's it to you?
I did give him a little bit of a smirk. I did Sengoku into like a crazy 3 cards, just 3 2k counters, which is exactly what I want. I have a really well established board, and I just want to keep that board presence up, so having that extra counter in my hand is going to be really good for that. But he is going to use the Law to be able to bounce my Brook back to hand, so that's a little bit of my board removed, but it's still going to be fine here because I have Jack, and I am just going to stage into Jack to be able to remove that Jinbei. Unfortunately, since Jack does KO a 3 cost and I kind of want to be utilizing that range, I couldn't use my leader effect to lower it and then get an extra 1k, so it's still fine. I mean, we're still removing a lot of his board and still putting pressure onto his life, so we're going to put him on the back end here, and he is going to play 2 Weevils to be able to draw cards, but I am picking up a whole lot of tempo here.
9, 10. Come in for that guy. I'm asking. It's a request. Sure. This is how I want to go.
Good game.
Just no rearrangers was brutal. I couldn't do it.
Coming into round 3 is going to be versus the Professor of Purple, Logan himself, and he is piloting the Iceburg. I feel like I say this every time we versus his Iceburg, but he just got a lot of really good utility cards in that EB set, especially with the Bluno as well as the Khalifa, and you are going to see a lot of the pressure that he can put onto my board, and with a lot of just board presence from those 2 cards alone and how much counter he can add to hand from that. So I think that if the Purple Galley Law strategy just got a different leader, maybe like a Polly or a Frankie, then I am like not even kidding. I think the cards from the strategy could push it just to be like a super meta relevant leader. I did really greed here in this matchup because I wanted to get that bounty done for the double attack, so instead of grabbing the Tashigi, the 5 cost Tashigi off of the brand new, I did grab the Smoker instead, so I am going to prioritize this just to get the bounty out of the way. Now, the Rob Lucci actually does have an effect to where you can Dawn -1 rest. I believe it is a 5 cost on our side of the field, so we definitely want to make that the priority target of any attack. So I don't think that it's really correct for me to swing in with my Smoker going into life, since he is just going to counter out of it, so I do swing that into the Rob Lucci. He is going to be aggressively swinging into that Smoker, and of course I do want to protect it because I do want to get that bounty done. I just want to get the double attack and be over with it, and in future iterations of the list, I don't think he's going to be making it in, but yeah, I am going to be protecting this 5 cost Smoker here. So since he did add a few of the counter cards to hand using the Khalifa, I know that if I do just huge swing with the Smoker into the life, that it's probably going to be met with counter, and I am having a little bit of a hard time getting the cost reduction on the field, so I do swing into the Rob Lucci, and he does let me have it. So we are feeling like we're in a good spot. He is going to activate the Reiju here to be able to draw 2 cards, just being able to add more cards to his hand, and just be really intimidating with how many cards he can just consistently add to hand. And if that wasn't bad enough, he is going to play a second Reiju on this turn to be able to draw 2 more cards. So now he has 3 Reijus on his side of the field. I am going to start with a 7k swing into the Khalifa just to remove some of the bodies on his side of the field, as well as reduce the poly on board by 4 costs. And I'm going to leader effect, give him an extra 1k, and then reduce that poly down to 0. So now that my smoker does have the ability to have double attack, but he does vomit 4 cards out of his hand, so that is going to be a lot of cards out of his hand. I just need this double attack smoker to stick, and hopefully I'll be feeling like I'm in a pretty good position to get that bounty done on my next turn. Hey, he does drop the Ragnarok here to be able to KO my Moria. It's important to note that he couldn't KO my smoker with double attack because he actually cannot be affected or KO'd by opponent's card effect. So that's pretty cool, a little bit of protection there. And we do see the golden combo coming from Iceburg, the Bluno, -1 to be able to play a card from the trash, which is going to be the Khalifa. Khalifa -1 being able to add 2 cards from the trash with cost 4 or less back to the owner's hand. So that means that it doesn't even have to be like tagged Water 7, so you can grab the Reiju if you need it, grab any 2k counter, so that's just going to be huge value for him every turn that he's able to find a Bluno. Not only does he get a whole lot of resources from that, but he's also going to be putting up a whole lot of board presence, especially because that's just 2 bodies for the price of 1. And I was a little bit busy yapping about the Bluno into Khalifa combo, but we did get the double attack off, so we're feeling like we're in a pretty good position just to push past the last bit of life. But he does have a massive book of cards in his hand right now, so that's going to make it very intimidating. And I was running out of board clearing in my hand, and he does have a huge board on his side of the field, so I decided, hey, I think I really got to go for game here, otherwise he's just going to run through my board or the rest of my life. So I do commit to it, and he did not have enough, and that is going to be GG. Round 4, and we are going to be playing the Smoker Mirror Match, so we already know what this leader does. He did take his deck and just completely swap the leader, so there are going to be some kind of odd choices in here, but he said it was working out for him, that he was getting enough cost-based reduction just to be able to activate the leader effect semi-consistently, so that's always cool to see. And he did tell me earlier in his prior round that he had activated 2 of the 10-cost Kusans, reducing all the opponent's characters by 5 cost, and then he played the 9-cost Shanks from the, I believe it was STO6. So that card reads, on play, you may trash 1 card from your hand, KO all of your opponent's characters with a cost of 1 or less, so he was able to completely board clear and actually win that game. So that was actually really cool to hear about. I think this game is going to be a really good representation of how tempo really matters, as opposed to just going for life and trying to get rid of as many of your opponent's life cards as possible. You can see throughout the duration of this game that my opponent and I are just trading life cards back and forth. We're going to be taking 1 life card each turn, but the difference is I'm playing a whole lot of cards that are going to be removing a lot of my opponent's cards, so they're not able to stick on his side of the field. So I'm always just going to have more bodies, and that's going to ramp up into more swings into life and eventually snowball into a point where I am able to just clear a lot of his life really fast in a blink. And that's why I think deck building is so important in this game, especially just being able to use your color's attributes to be able to maintain tempo and use it to get ahead of your opponent is so important.
4, another block.
Alright. Let's hope I don't have another Tashigi.
If you did, that would be terrible. Did you look up at the camera like, no, I hope I don't have another Tashigi?
I hope I don't.
What?
So I think it's no surprise that I actually did have another Tashigi. I wasn't really trying to hide that anyway, so we are able to play it and get rid of his blocker again. So 3 blockers, 3 turns in a row, so that feels kind of rude on my part, but you know, we are trying to just end the game as soon as we can. I am going to commit the rest of my swings into his life. I'm going to start with a 7k swing with Tashigi here, and then another 7k swing with my leader. And he is going to block it, or not block it, but activate a out-of-life blocker. I'm going to swing 5 here. He does give me counter, so he's going to come back to his turn with 1 leader and 1 blocker on the field, and we're going to see if he can do anything with it. And I'm just going to let the commentary speak for itself here.
Gambling, 9 life. Do you have enough for 9?
I've got a really massive hand, so the answer is going to be yes.
That's game. This is going to be really, really dumb. I say you attach 1 to every character. Yay. I'm dying in a funny way.
7 life?
Alrighty, 7 life. I discard Shanks, so 8. And he's good
Game, dude.
Okay, I already started to rip this.
Don't ruin your goodwill. Highlight. Let's go. Anything good? Oh, you got a leader.
Nope.
What leader is that?
Leader? Cody Jones, not
Cody
good.
Jones? Oh. Probably grab these before I go to something.
Pudding.
That's exactly.
Coming into round 5, it's going to be versus Red Shanks, piloted by Max, and I did walk in with a new mentality on how I want to be approaching this matchup. So shout out to this commenter from my last video that he kind of just told me about how the Kaido as well as the Kuzan are going to be some pivotal pieces in this matchup, and of course I did cut out the Kaido to make room for the Smoker, the 5-cost Smoker, so in my next iteration I'm going to be implementing it back in, but we are going to try and focus on that Kuzan and try and get a whole lot of value from it. So I am going to try and go pretty one-for-one on the removal, especially as we get into some of the later turns, especially with tools like our Ice Age. I'm going to hold on to as many Ice Ages as I can, as well as Tashigi, since they have a whole lot of cost reduction attached to them. And I'm going to try and remove a lot of bodies as I can to try and keep pace. And of course our opponent does have some removal of their own. They do have the 7-cost Nugate to be able to remove my Kuzan, so unfortunately we did not get that one to stick. Another thing that I've been noticing about this matchup is that my opponent definitely just feels like they have a whole lot of cards in hand throughout the rest of the game. Like, I can't put as much pressure on the hand just because of the leader effect and the fact that they get a 1k counter for free, basically. So once we do get that Kaido back into the list, I'm going to feel really good about not only going 1-for-1, but putting a little bit of pressure onto our opponent's hand. So here I am going to play the Kuzan. Hopefully this one's going to be sticking, and I do go for a very value-based Moria here, just being able to also use the Sengoku to find some other pieces. On my opponent's turn, he is going to start by applying some pressure with the characters he does have on board, so he is going to swing 7 with that ace. I am going to block and give it a 2k, and then he is going to play another 7-drop Nugate, which is actually like super crazy since it's not searchable. So the fact that he found 2 7-drop Nugates to remove both of the Kuzans that I played just feels really bad for me. And then coming back to my turn, I'm going to start by trying to apply a little bit of pressure on, and so he does give me the 1k, and I do make a huge misplay here, and I think this is what cost me the game. For some reason in my mind, Tashigi has just been a 5-cost, like a -5 cost onto our opponent's characters, but of course it's only going to be -4, so that was just 1 cost off from removing the Nugate. So I had to remove the ace instead, and then ace uses effect to protect itself, and then I just use my leader swing to remove it. And from that one misplay alone, the fact that I wasn't able to remove some of his bigger bodies, especially that Nugate, we're going to see the snowballing effects of that. That he is just going to have not only a lot of big swings coming into a lot of my bodies, but he's also just going to be using that Nugate to remove body after body. So that feels really bad, and I'm pretty sure that's just the misplay that costed me the game here. And we don't have enough to set up a pretty good defense, nor do we have a whole lot of cards in hand. We were able to remove the Shanks, but as we're going to see, that's not going to be enough. He just has some big bodies, and he does have the Rogers. So we were fighting for first and second. He did get it in the end, so that's GG.
Bailey lasted more than a turn. Okay.
It's almost like you keep printing film things.
Yeah, because I needed to keep on taking down that Nugate, and as soon as I couldn't take down Nugate, I was like, shit.
You just keep printing
Oh
things
my
that have triggers,
gosh.
You're gonna hit a threshold where he's just got the perfect build.
Oh, Pudding. Why did I think Shura was in here?
So we ended the day at 4-1, pushing our overall record to 49-25, and we are so close to having twice as many wins as our losses on this series so far, which is super cool. I felt like I was playing actually really well throughout the day, except when I started to get to those later rounds, I started misplaying, especially in that last round where it actually costed me. But a second place finish is something that I could always be proud of. Stay tuned for next week where we're going to be participating in a non-meta tournament, so leave your comments down below what you think I'm going to be playing, and for that, you'll just have to wait for next week. Thank you so much for watching. If you like the content, drop a like and sub to the channel. The more subscribers we get, the closer we inch to the big sub bounty. And speaking of bounties, don't forget to leave a comment suggesting your new bounty. New waves of bounties drop every 5 episodes. And while you're down there, let me know your thoughts on today's episode. Until next time, drink your water, pass out love, hugs, kisses, mwah.